Hello, hello, and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, my friend. I'm so excited that you're tuning in today. I'm so grateful to have this conversation today with you. And if you're tuning in live, it's Monday here. One more week, another week, and today is a special day. It's actually a holiday from the country where I'm coming from, Uzbekistan. They celebrate Navruz, and that's a country where the day and the night has the same hour, so it's equal, and it's really amazing day to start it. And I want to just express my gratitude and express that you, my friend, hold the power to your life, to create the life you desire. If you're tuning in the first time, my name is Jana Masik, and I'm hosting this broadcast, Powering Unique You, to talk about how can we encourage you to empower yourself to be the best you can be, to create the life you want to create. And today is not better than a day to talk about this. And I'm so thrilled. Tune in and please let me know if where you're coming from, how are you feeling today, and take a part of this conversation. Today's conversation is very special, and it's really interesting because we learn the lessons from each other. We can share our stories. We can share the journey that we are on, and find a way how to enrich our own life. And that's what this conversation is all about. Today we're going to talk about how to rewire your own mind for success and joy. Who wants success? Hey, I think most of the people want success. And who wants joy? I think we all want joy. We just sometimes run too fast, too hard, that we forget that joy belongs to our heart. So, how to rewire your mind for success and joy and to create the life you love. And today is a special guest that I want to bring in, this amazing lady. She's no stranger to failure and difficulty. At the age of 26, she was living in poverty, divorced, and alcoholic. And she's really had a near death experience in the hospital, and I'd like to share that with us, for her to share that with us. And she had a choice whether she continues on this path of destruction or she chooses to find a way to rebuild, find a way to take a new road, find a way how to create the life she loves. So she took the road and that less traveled, and decided to build a dream. She created a company called Her Divine Life, where she now breaks down overarching spiritual success concepts into bite-sized pieces for people, so that she does stand out in her field, and she's helping and coaching people and speaking and inspiring thousands of people. And I hope she will surely inspire you and me today in how to live the life they love. And I cannot wait but to bring amazing Sharon Coleman. Hello, Sharon.
Thank you so much for having me, Jana. What a
Um,
pleasure to be with you this morning.
so thrilled. I love the colors. Divine is truly blue, right? Is the color that just resonates and brings some peace and joy, and we all need that in our lives. Sharon, I'd love for you to start our conversation with giving us a little bit of insight into your story, near death experience. Being broke, really battling at the at your late 20th. How was that? How was that look like? And what really helped you to pivot and take
Yeah,
charge
you know,
to move your life to a different
I
direction?
thank you, Jana. I look back at my history now, and I've reached that beautiful point of gratitude, right, for everything that has come before, that has shaped my life and myself into who I am today, because I truly do love my life. And that's an incredible sentence, an incredible space to be in compared to where I came from. So
Wow.
I was raised in a great deal of trauma with a mentally ill mom. who also had great shades of being very mean. Not a great place to grow up from. And so I grew up with very low self-esteem. Like, I really, when they say I am not enough, that was an understatement compared to what that meant in my life. And so at 26, I had found alcohol when I was like 17, solved a lot of problems for me because I had pushed down memories inside of myself, both of being a child going through major trauma, but also a molested child. And so I had pushed those memories deep down inside of myself, and started drinking at 17. Not what other people may consider heavy, but it definitely affected my life in a negative way. So what happened at 26, I had a daughter, and I just decided that I was not going to be the same kind of mom that I had. I wanted it to be so different for my children, and which it has been, which is the miracle in all of this. But so what happened was, I actually was considering suicide. And I had plotted it for like 3 weeks and not said anything to anyone. And I was so desperate. And one night I fell to my knees. And when I fell to my knees, what I said, if there's anything out there, if there's a God out there, if there's anything out there, then at this point, help me, please help me. And it was pure desperation and pure sincerity. And I was completely enveloped. I mean, just completely in pure peace and pure love. And it was so outrageous. I never felt anything like that in my life. And I remember I was afraid to get off my knees because I was so naive about spiritual things. I thought it would go away. I didn't want it to go away because I finally felt love. And it was just this outrageous experience. So I stayed on my knees for 45 minutes, Gianna. That's how afraid I was of getting up. But when I got up, it lingered for a while. And within 2 days, I met my mentor, who was my mentor for over 28 years. Her name was Anne. 2 days later, and my entire life turned around. She taught me neurological, psychological, and spiritual concepts and how to actually apply them to my life, because knowledge does us no good without application and action. It does us no good.
Absolutely.
She actually like apply them to my life. So I was like waitressing 3 jobs when I met her. I was in pure poverty. I hated looking at bills because I couldn't pay them. My son stood outside of my car and refused to get in because he was like, Mom, that's the ugliest car in the whole town. And it was rusted out. The paint was coming off, but it was like, this is all we have right now. And
Mm-hmm.
so over the next 10 years, without education, by the way, I actually went from waitressing 3 jobs to becoming a manager for a organization, and going up from unloading trucks to becoming a manager. And then over the next 15 became a vice president of that organization. So I've had an outrageous career, an outrageous life. I have 2 beautiful children. I'm expecting my first grandbaby any day. Um, and so I have, I had this near death experience, which I can also tell you about if you'd like. But what happened was,
Please.
oh, really? Yeah. So
Yes, please.
about 15 years, 16 years ago, I had a disease called MRSA, which actually ate holes in my body. So by the time I got to the hospital, I had a blood clot in my lung and my leg. I had 7 open wounds, and I was dying of something called MRSA. And I was in ICU, and they had brought my children in and done the goodbyes, like the, hey, we expect your mom can go at any minute. And so they'd done that horrible thing and said goodbye. And I was in my room, and all of a sudden I literally said to the nurses, I'm leaving. I'm leaving, because I could feel my soul actually leaving out of the top of my head. It's a crazy feeling. But you literally feel yourself leaving your physical body. So the next thing I know, I woke up in what I could choose to call heaven. It makes no matter of mind what people call any of this stuff. But I woke up, and I knew that I had died. And so the first thing I said was, what about Bonnie and Patrick? Those are my children. And what I heard so lovingly was, they're grown now. And, I didn't realize it, because your children are always your babies, but
Yes.
they were grown people. And so that just hit me. I'm like, wow, I guess they are grown people now. And the second thing was, I said, is this where we do the death inventory? Right. Because I was raised a Christian. So you think, well, when you get there, you're going to do this death inventory. And this is what I was told: my child, I never punish you. Every time you broke your integrity when you were on earth, you punished yourself. I do not punish you. And I was floored. I was just like floored. But there were a lot of other conversations that happened as well during that time before I returned to my body. And when I got back, I hit my knees and I just said, I will serve you till the day I die, and try to help other of your children understand who they really are and how beautiful they really are, and help them find a way back to their true self. So that's kind of what I've been doing since. And I love my life,
Wow.
but I also love my all the people that I work with. They make my life so rich.
Wow, wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing this really touching story. And it is just amazing. I am also, I'm a believer. I'm Christian. I believe in the Bible and Jesus, and that I know that God is amazing.
Oh,
And I know for
yes.
some people it's not the truth, and that's okay, because I feel we all on different kinds of journeys searching for that meaning. And I say that it's really beautiful that when you contemplate suicide, when you are at that dark deep point, that you feel there's nothing else on this earth. And I've had those thoughts. I went through that similar type of experience.
Hmm.
And I think each one of us in some ways have had those kind of, I think everybody's battling some kind of battles and challenges. But when
Yes.
you feel that there is nothing on this earth, and you're in such a deep darkness, when you do turn your heart and seek light and seek, is there more? Is there meaning? Is there anything else out there, and that becomes real? That experience becomes real, and nobody can take it away from you. And I think that's where your faith really strengthens you, and it really gives you the permission to say, I want to explore more, I want to know more, and I want to learn more. And really, for reflecting on your experience, we're talking about how to rewire yourself and how to really love the life you have. And a lot of times I feel that we think that we're going to be happy and love the life that out there in the future.
Yeah.
It's like when my bills are all paid and my house is all paid and I retire, I'm going to love my life. Or when I'm going to get this title or this promotion, or when my kids are all grown and out of the house, I'm going to love my life. So we all set ourselves some kind of unrealistic future
Yeah.
expectations. In the meantime, we are just juggling and kind of racing and wasting this day, this life that is right in front of us, and not feeling it. So I'd love to hear, hear your thoughts on. I think there is, okay. What is it really? How do I love the life that I live? So, and we talk about neuroscience. We talk about rewiring yourself for success and joy. So maybe, how do I rewire? Let's start with that. How do I rewire my mind for success and joy? What are the advice you give to us?
Right. Well, and then it's so important. So between 0 and 8 years old, children live in almost a hypnotic state. They live in a super learning state from 0 to 8 years
Hmm.
old. They don't have reasoning mind until 8. So from 0 to 8, we are all sponges. We are literally picking up every cue and learning who we are and forming an identity based on all of the people around us in our environment. And it's not just what they're saying or what they're doing. We're picking up on the energy that they're all in,
Mm.
picking up on all of that. So I have had parents say to me, well, I didn't fight in front of my children. We always fought behind closed doors. And I'm like, it has no matter of meaning. They felt it. You got to
Yes.
understand their feeling. They're in a hyper state of learning.
Yes.
They feel
Yes.
everything, right? The issue becomes that we form an identity, which if we do not at some point stop and reevaluate, we believe we are that person our whole life. That's why sometimes we'll feel like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what my mother would have said. I feel exactly like my
Mhm.
mother. When it comes to my children or something in life or my father or whatever, because you have picked up your cues from them. The
Yes.
problem is that in your neurology, you've actually set up synaptic connections. You've set up a pattern. I call them taught habit patterns that has repeated over and over until it's become like a rut. So if you were told or you felt or you believe that you are not smart, you are going to face life like that as an adult. You're always going to feel like, oh, if they just find out who I really am, they're not going to let me have
Mhm.
a job. And it doesn't matter if you're genius, you're going to feel that because that was the impressions that you picked up on. So when we reevaluate, when we find out kind of what's in stock in trade inside of our mind, okay, we then can look at it through a new lens because from 8 years old on, you start to develop logic. So now you can use your conscious mind, which is only 10% of your mind power is your conscious mind. So your subconscious mind is 90% of what's running your life, but most people don't even know there is a subconscious mind. Or if they do, it's just a thought. They don't really understand it. So you
Mhm.
can use your mind over your mind, your conscious mind over your subconscious mind to literally reprogram your mind about what is now fact. Because when you talk about this desperation between suicide and these feelings we have, what we're really feeling is disconnected from God, from source, from spirit. We're feeling disconnected. So when we say, like in that prayer, what happened is the reconnection. I became aware of the connection that was always there. But I was living in my thoughts, I was living in my mind. So I wasn't living from my heart. So I felt alone.
Mhm.
So as you connect, as you reconnect and you look at these patterns and you actually rewire them, but you've got to become aware. Like for me, I was raised in a house where my dad literally was a rocket scientist. I'm not kidding. His name is on the moon. He was the head thrust engineer for Apollo, Thor, and Saturn programs. The man was brilliant. And so my sister was also very much like my dad. She's a doctor now. So it's just a different kind of intellect. But I
Mhm.
was the kid when everybody else brought home straight A's, I brought home the B, the C. So I always thought I wasn't smart. I
Mhm.
just always felt like I wasn't smart. So what's so funny, when I became 26, I actually was asked to take part in a study at UCLA, and it was a study about people's intellect. And I found out I had a genius IQ. Now, I want you to think about the disparity between those two things. I literally think I'm dumb. So I don't ever, I mean, I just don't ever feel like I'm as good as everybody around me. And then at 26, I get this information. Jana, I told the doctor, you have the wrong results. You have the wrong person. You've mixed them up. You need to go back. And it really took convincing for what was the fact compared to what
Yes.
I believed in my thoughts. So, this process where it holds people back from living a rich, full life when they believe there's something they're not.
Mhm.
It's this process of discovery and then rewiring. What is the truth? Well, the truth is we are all loved completely unconditionally. Past anything you are ever going to experience on this earth, you are loved. You are loved. You are watched over. You are cared for. People have no idea of what's really out there and what's really going on because they're living life through a perception of what
Mhm.
they see, but that's a taught perception. It's not what's going on now. So there's a way of helping people to open their mind and then literally recreate the truth about who they really are. Get in touch with their heart. But you're not broken. People aren't broken, but they think they're broken. So,
Yes.
right? This
Yes.
disparity between the two.
Yes, well, it's really true that I feel what we set up, and I like that you started with the eight to birth to eight, that formation, and then as we move through the childhood, it forms so much of who we are, and then we just acquire the experiences and we kind of build upon that, and in adulthood, I do not know how about you as you're listening and tuning in, but I say it was a lot of just in a way survival. You just kind of tackle it tight, and it's just like, okay, I'm gonna do my best at work, I'm gonna perform my best, I'm gonna juggle my 100 array of responsibilities, and I'm just gonna go in and get it done, get it done, get it done, get it done. And with that mindset, you almost don't give yourself a permission to stop, relax, reevaluate, rest, and start getting curious about what is really going on inside of you. And I feel we are so conditioned with the outside circumstances so much, that we also feel that our joy and our success depends on outside
Yes.
circumstances.
Yes, I
We
say people are
feel
living
somebody's going to
outside
bring
in.
it to us.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
We
yes, yes, you're right on, Jana.
and
Yes.
and that is such a lie, because nobody's going to bring, well, maybe somebody can bring you something good and it's great, right? But in fact, it's what you have inside of you, is that's what's going to drive your success and your joy. And how do you access this? And I guess, how do you, dream? How do you bring those dreams? How do you bring that, desire for success and joy into reality? So maybe there's like, maybe some practical steps, Sharon, 1, 2, 3 steps or something like that, that can be easily implemented right away. So anything you
There
could.
are. One of the big ones is that when you look at your life and you are longing and discontent, so you are unsatisfied with what's going on in your life, that's literally a voice that was given to you in your heart. That's your purpose. That's your life purpose. It's telling you
Mhm.
this isn't it. I want, and then there is a voice for longing, like, I really want to have more. I really want to have more. And we think that we label that as bad when that was actually put on your heart for what your
Yes.
gifts are here to bring through. So it is in paying attention. So what happens is most of us have all the thoughts run through our brain all day, and you don't pay attention. So what
Hmm.
I say is notice what you're noticing. In other words, start to become aware. That's the first step, is stop thinking that that's the truth, all the thoughts that go through your head. So stop. And just when you get upset, you actually flood your brain with chemicals of adrenaline and
Hmm.
dopamine. When you do that, you cannot make a good decision for yourself. So you
Yes.
need to breathe, to pause, to get yourself back in to your parasympathetic nervous system, where you can calm down and you can actually learn and you can actually move forward. You see? So you
Yes.
breathe, you pause and you breathe. And the breath that I do is that you breathe in deeply, but when you blow out, instead of just blowing out, you blow out as though you are blowing out through a straw,
Hmm.
very, very slowly.
Hmm.
If you do that, you return to a state of calm. Now you can actually do something about the thought pattern that was causing you to be upset, right? So then the
Hmm.
second step is notice what you got to notice what that thought was. What got you so upset? What triggered you? Now write down what that thought is. Now look at that thought and evaluate it. Is there any facts? Because what you're going to find 99.9% of the time, it's not true. It wasn't true. You were taught to react instead of respond
Yes.
to the outside world. When that happens to you, it's something that happened in your childhood, and you have drug it all the way forward to your adulthood,
Hmm.
and you still feel the same way. So our focus, where we focus, grows. Our
Yes.
focus creates our thoughts create our feelings. Our
Hmm.
feelings create our actions, and our actions create the result that we're getting in different areas of our life.
Yes.
So it is a process of noticing, becoming aware of what you're thinking when you're upset. You cannot look at every thought. You have so many thoughts running through your head every day. There's no way you're going to isolate them. You don't need to. And you don't need to isolate the ones that are good. You need to isolate the ones where you get upset.
Hmm.
Those are coming from your subconscious mind. So once you do that, now you can look at it as an adult and say, what do I choose to create in my life? Instead of
Yes.
I am not enough, people that have this imposter syndrome, I mean, I was extremely successful as an executive, extremely successful. But for years, until I got a hold of all this, I felt like if they find out, they're going to take my job. If
Yes.
they really know who I really am, they're going to
Yeah.
take my job. Now, there was no facts involved in that. I was doing a good job, but I didn't feel it inside until I could isolate what those thoughts are and then start to recreate my life by re-looking at those thoughts. So positive affirmations don't work for people because they're just saying it. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work if you just say it. You have to feel it with your heart. You have to actually feel it. Let
Mm-hmm.
yourself move into the future as though it has already occurred. When people dream, they put the dream out here.
Yes.
When you put the dream out here, you're literally moving it away from yourself. It
Mm-hmm.
is in this moment, create that state of being where it has already happened. When you
Mm.
do that, the inner workings of your mind go to work to bring that into your reality. The divine is always standing by to give you what you want. But when we were born, we were all given free will. Free will. So we can choose what life we have, but we truly are creating our own reality every minute of every day. And we
Yes.
live a life that is, because I do, and I've helped so many people live a life. They love living. They finally look up one day and say, "Oh my gosh, I love my life." And so moving out of that darkness into the light of who they really are, I think is really the key.
Yes, it's amazing, and I feel that it is practical things, and it's also learning how to bring on that reality from inside out. Again, we
Yes.
touched on that, and you mentioned it's a pattern of what you're focusing on that brings in your thoughts, that brings in your emotions, then brings in your actions, and then brings in your results.
Yes,
So when
yes.
you look at your results in your life, around you, in your health, in your occupation, in your relationships, in your finances, when you look at those results didn't just occur to you randomly. Those results are the results of your focus, your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, your actions. Here you go. So you
Yeah.
have to pedal back and you have to really consider, what do you want to focus on? Are you
Yeah.
going to focus on, we're going through some challenges financially, and we talk about, are we going to focus on what we don't have, and we can focus on that all day long and generate this negative emotion, and guess what, we're going to have less and less and less because
That's
that's
right.
all the thing we're focusing on. Or we're
Right.
going to shift and think, well, we're struggling in this area, we're challenged in this area, but look at all the amazing things we do have, and let's focus on how can we bring on more of what we want in our life together with my husband. And it's awareness. You're gonna have to do that consciously. You're gonna have to choose and do that intentionally. Nobody can do that work for you. If you absolutely don't, hate your job, don't like your relationships, and just don't like where you are, you got the key, my friend. You hold the key to change this around. And you gotta have to start that with what you're focusing on, what you're thinking about, and start finding ways to shift that into a perspective where you want to direct your life towards. And Sharon, it doesn't happen overnight, right?
No,
It
no, no,
doesn't
no.
happen overnight, but it is powerful in
Yeah.
this process. Shift does happen.
It is a practice. And it's interesting that you say that because one of the things that that is so profound for me. So when I came back from the near death experience, I've been incredibly intuitive, like overdrive intuitive. And so they show me people's patterns with money, and they actually show me them as children where they picked up on that pattern. So I have
Hmm.
a gal right now that I'm working with, and when we started, she kept keeping herself in poverty. And what happened is we tracked it back and we found this moment where she was very raised very poor, and she wanted McDonald's like a regular kid wanted McDonald's. And she had an incident where her mom kept saying no to her and she kept asking. And finally her mom turned around and just screamed at her, "Stop asking for things you want. You can't have them." And that imprinted that child so much that now she literally, as an adult, was not asking for what she wanted. She was afraid to ask even. And if you don't ask, you don't receive.
No.
Right. And
Wow.
so, but there's always something, there's an incident, there's, if your parents were constantly saying, we don't have enough, we just don't have enough, we don't, then you grow up believing there's not enough for you either. So
Yes.
many patterns are fascinating because they're very programmed through early childhood experiences, and the person will spend the rest of their life not happy.
Believing. Believing
So,
that.
it's a trip. That part to me, when I see those. Anyway, this young lady just got a job that was paying her $30,000 more than her last job because she finally felt worth it. It's an inner thing. You can't do, you're right. People try to live from the outside in, and the secret is living from the inside out, not
Yes.
the outside in. Totally
Well,
right.
I could say that it's so true, Sharon, because it's the value that the way even we value ourselves. And I've my corporate experience. I was hiring people globally. I was searching for global talent, hiring people globally. Bringing in the match to positions overseas and things like that. And it was interesting for me to just notice how people would come into the interviews and what they bring in, and you could sense right away how much value does this person puts on himself or on herself. So it's so important. And there are some people, of course, that think, oh, I could do this or this or that. We're not talking about that, trying to cheat somebody, but we're talking about how you truly value yourself and how you carry yourself. And I wanted to segue in just a second into self-love and self-acceptance,
Oh,
and how important that is for really rewiring your brain for success and joy to live the life you love. And when you carry that you're not good enough, you can't ask, that you're somewhat flawed or something else, or you doubt your ability to figure things out, all of this doubts and guilt and shame and all of this negative senses, they just bring your energy down. And then other people, you don't have to say much, they sense
oh,
how
we
you
all
relate
said,
to
oh,
yourself.
we
And
all,
then
yeah.
if you don't love yourself, don't value yourself, don't appreciate yourself, well, guess what? Other people's not gonna do that either. So it starts again from not from outside in, it starts from within into outside world. So let's talk a little bit about practice of self-love, self-forgiveness, and how it relates to living the life you love, Sharon.
Oh, I love that, Janet. It's probably the most important thing. So I was a kid again who grew up with I mean, my when I met my teacher, she literally said to me, "You have less self-esteem than anyone I've ever met." Like I just really had self-loathing. Now, here's the thing. There was a wonderful scientist who did an experiment over 30 years and came up with the vibration that each one of our emotional states carry. So the states at the bottom that are the densest, heaviest are shame and guilt and sadness and all these emotions. Well, at the top are things like joy and love and acceptance and willingness, right? So
Yes.
what's so interesting is people don't realize it, but you can't create from those lower dense emotions. When someone says they're depressed, if you watch their body language and their eye language, they're literally humped over as though the
Yes.
world is heavy
There is
on their
emotional,
shoulders,
yes.
right?
Physical.
Emotionally, that's a very dense, very slow vibration, very
Mm-hmm.
slow. So you can't create from there. Where we create from is from the emotion of love.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from the emotion of love and from that acceptance. So moving and shifting from this opinion you have of yourself that is not true, right? This low opinion you have of yourself, your self-esteem, by starting to become aware, actually accepting your dark side, the side of us, that shadow side that people don't want to deal with, right? That shadow side or that light side, and recognizing we are all both. We are human beings. We are human messes, is how I like to say it. And there's beautiful acceptance in, yeah, I'm not good at this, or I really act too, whatever it is on this
Yes.
particular wavelength, right? And then, but what happens is you start to have work a process, an actual tool to where when you are in your lower vibration, you recognize it and you choose to raise yourself up. You choose to raise yourself up because you absolutely will not bring into your life anything more than you feel you're worth. You won't. Well,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why
Yes.
a lot of these programs where people are talking about like manifesting and all these things, they don't work because people aren't helping people understand the root cause of the
Mm-hmm.
issue, which is buried in their subconscious mind. So it really is in the reprogramming that we start to find ourselves. But it's interesting, when I was in heaven, here's what happened, and I was floored by this. I was told that loving yourself is equal to loving other people. You cannot put loving people in front of loving yourself. They are equal. So when it says we love others as we love ourselves, think about that statement. People don't
Mm-hmm.
recognize what it means. It is as important that you learn to love yourself. And that was the biggest thing that I came back with, was this love for myself, this love for who I was with all experiences, all mistakes I'd made, all of it. And just loving that soul that had had the courage to walk this journey through all the experiences I'd walked through and who I had become. So it's not a perfection. Perfection is so limiting. It's an awful thing to do to yourself, right?
Yes.
You are already good enough. You are lovable, just like you
Mm-hmm.
are. So it's taking off these thought patterns, these unbeliefs about ourselves, and really starting to get in touch with our heart, and that we were created as beautifully as a tree, as a bird, as a, look at a child, look at a baby. Everybody
Yes.
goes, ah, when they look at a baby, and that's the sound of the divine. Ah, it's just beautiful. We know the truth, but we can see it with other people and not ourselves. So it's extremely important to get in touch with the truth of who we really are. And then just
Yes.
accept it. I'm not asking you to like everything about you, but I am certainly asking that you accept who you
Mm-hmm.
are and find love for yourself, love for that child that has gone through all those experiences. Because then and only then can you start to create wonderful things in your life for yourself. And you're worth it. You're
Yes,
totally worth it.
absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you, Sharon. I agree that self love is so important. I feel that people that hurt others the most, they are very hurt inside and they have hatred toward themselves. So it's, if you truly love and you coming, as you beautifully explained, coming from the energy and the essence of love, you can't help but just give others love as well.
That's
So it is so important that you can make these conscious choices. You can rewire your brain for success and for joy that you absolutely deserve and desire, and create this life that you love. And maybe it's not perfect, and we are imperfect humans, but
yes.
yes, you still have this ability to do that from inside out. Sharon, thank you so much for coming and sharing all this
Oh,
wisdom and experiences with us today. Any kind of parting words or advice as we close out?
I think that you've got to remember that you are not broken, but that you are programmed like a CD record. It's going to play the same thing every single time when something outside of you happens. You're worth doing the work. And I would not be where I am today without a mentor. You do need someone who can, doesn't have to be me, doesn't have to be Jana, but you need to find someone who can actually help you walk through this process to return to that who you really are, that which is beautifully made, perfectly made. So, Jana, you're just amazing. What a pleasure to be with you today. Incredible time. Thank you.
Likewise, Sharon. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming in and sharing so beautifully your story and your insights with us. Thank you, Sharon. Wow, I think this was really, really thoughtful and deep and valuable. And I hope that you find value in this conversation. It's really, really important. I feel I'm on this journey, and I want to invite you to embark on this journey of self discovery, self empowerment, finding joy from within. Don't wait for circumstances. Don't wait for other people. Don't wait for your boss to, bring you some kind of joy and excitement. Maybe they will, but don't wait for that. Don't wait for your spouse or your children to, make you happy. Your responsibility, you have the responsibility to bring that happiness from within, to bring the joy from within. Focus on the good things that you have in life, and then recreate the pattern from negative thoughts into a positive, from self-loathing, self-hatred, or doubts into trust and self-love, and start acting out and speaking out from that amazing wisdom that you already have within you, and bring that joy and success as a reality into your life. So then you look at your life and you say, wow, I truly love the life I'm living today. And you know what? The more you do that, the more you realize that today is this day to truly love the life you have. You don't have to wait until tomorrow. It is this day that you can look around and say, wow, I'm truly grateful. I have an amazing life. I love my life. So for you, I want to encourage you to do that. And my friend, keep powering unique you. I see you soon.